Is upgrading from economy to first class on American Airlines from JFK to DFW worth it? In this video, we're going to find out. Welcome back to Millers in Motion. We are wrapping up our New York series, so we are starting out right here at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square or Midtown Manhattan, and we're going to be heading to JFK International Airport this morning. Now, the big question is it worth the cost of upgrading from economy or premium economy, wherever you happen to be in economy, to first class? So first up is transportation. I will say you get zero perks on transportation, but that's true of almost any airline in existence. So there's a bunch of different ways you can get from Manhattan to JFK, one of them being what's called the air train, which means you can take either the Long Island Railroad or a subway to the entrance or the stopping point of the air train, and then you can take that to your respective terminal. Now, we are choosing to just do an Uber. We're traveling with two larger bags. We were here for a little bit, and so I don't love the idea of having to haul these things up and down subway stairs and all that, and the one we would have to go down here in Times Square at 42nd Street, it's a little bit rough on that front. So we're just electing to do a Lyft or an Uber or whatever your preferred ride share is. So, airport. So just be prepared coming to the airport from JFK, as it can take a while to get out of Manhattan. So it took us about an hour and 20 minutes to get here, but traffic was pretty bad. It was rush hour, one of those things. Now, I will say this, when you get to the airport, if you have first class, you get what's called priority check-in. Now, at JFK, that's a little different because you also have business class and a lot of international. We just happen to be flying domestic. It's also coupled with British Airways, which is their sister airline as part of that whole alliance thing that they're a member of. With that, you get a little bit of a priority check-in. Also, typically now with American and a lot of other airlines, you have to do what's kind of known as like a kiosk check-in. So if you're checking bags, if you're not, you can go right to a check-in counter because you're carrying on. But when you do those kiosks, you print your own tag, then you take it, you drop off, you present your ID, all that stuff. Priority, you just kind of go to the counter and they take care of you. It's typically quite a bit faster. All right, so when you go through security at most places, when you have first class versus economy, you also get to go through what's called a priority. Now, there's a few things that differ for us because we travel quite a bit. We have TSA pre-check, so that kind of negates some of those things just a little bit. So as far as lounge access, so this is where it gets a little bit of muddy waters, and I'll tell you that you need to check your ticket, lounge options, all those types of things. And now everybody else, depending on credit card access and loyalty status, you're going to have all different kinds of lounge options. So as far as what our ticket grants us access to, big old Zippo is what it grants us access to. So a first class ticket, a domestic first class ticket on American Airlines, and this is true for most of the American carriers unless something magically changed, is that it's not going to give you any access to a lounge. Now, if you're flying internationally or very, very, very select what's considered premium routes that are domestic, like think Hawaii back to the continental United States, like really like Alaska, that kind of thing, on wide body jets, they may give you access to American's Admiral Lounge. There is also the Flagship Lounge, but that's the fancy pants. So if you can get in a Flagship Lounge, go for it. Admiral's Club is kind of the standardized one. With that, at JFK, so we carry the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, which also gives us access to Priority Pass lounges. Now, as far as lounge access here at JFK, it gives us access to the Chase Sapphire Preferred Lounge. It's in conjunction with Etihad Airways. The problem is it's at Terminal 4. And at least at the time of filming, this airport's under a lot of construction. And so, unfortunately, there's not a lot of access to get from terminal to terminal. You can, there's an air train, but you need hours of time in between. And even the person that checked us in the priority area for first class on American was like, because we asked her, she's like, you can, but it took her 25 minutes from wherever the air train picked her up at to bring her to this terminal. So, yeah. So after doing a little bit of research that Lauren did, apparently there is a Priority Pass lounge here. Now, in the States, a Priority Pass lounge can get a little weird.
Yeah.
this is one of those scenarios. So internationally, the priority pass lounges, great. I've done them in Mexico quite a bit, actually. They're always pretty solid over there. They're not as good as like the airline premium versions, but so this priority pass lounge happens to be a steakhouse, but I'm guessing they don't give you steak. It's Bobby Van's Steakhouse. This is the first time that I'm like, it sounds like a restaurant more than a lounge. So this is the first time for me that's been experienced. So we're going to go attempt and see what happens. All right, well, no go on the lounges. This terminal is under a lot of construction, and we could not find that steakhouse. It looks like it's just gone completely. And because of access to everything, we actually don't get lounge access. So, boo. Okay, well, just as a side note, if you are coming to JFK in any capacity, Terminal 8, well, for starters, there's construction everywhere getting in, but Terminal 8 specifically, holy hell. There's like very few food options. So far, the only thing that we've seen that you can actually sit down at is Shake Shack. So with that, you know, from is first class worth it? I would say at Terminal 8, as far as the airport experience, minus the check-in, which made that a lot easier and cleaner, not looking great. Now, I say that's just a JFK thing. I will say that it's very difficult to move between terminals, at least right now at JFK. And we've taken advantage of that at DFW Airport quite a bit because it's pretty easy to move between terminals once you're there. Like, you can get past security and then you can switch terminals. So we're just trying to find somewhere to camp out now, which is always a fun problem. All right, this is officially our lounge for the next 45 minutes. It's a new fancy one called Shake Shack. Hey, it's better than the other lounge options so far.
Which is nothing at all?
Nothing at all. So one of the other bonuses about flying first class versus coach is priority boarding. American has had a slightly different version of this boarding process. They used to just use numbers, so 1 through 4 was priority, status, class, that kind of stuff. Okay, like I was saying, or class. So I don't fly enough to have much of a priority anymore, but because we're in first class, we got to board in the early groups. Now, that used to be group 1. Now they just call it FC, first class, and they board before the groups do because so many priority members up. All right, now that we have taken off and we are in the air, I'm going to apologize for the lighting, but a couple of things. One, not every domestic American Airlines flight actually has what's called an IFE, or in-flight entertainment system. On American flights, they do have the ability to connect your phone to the Wi-Fi, and then you can access all of their stuff. So with that, you have a little bit more room in the seat back to fit bigger things like iPads. As you can see, I'm watching Conclave because I haven't seen it. And so from there, you can access anything, and there's a USB charger over on the left. I have a pop-out armrest style tray to my right, seat back stuff, and then there's some storage under my left arm. Also underneath that storage in the armrest is some more power options, so you can actually plug something in there. There's another USB, plus the USB that's on the seat back. Now, initially when we booked this flight, there was no meal service involved. Sometimes they don't. In first class, they won't necessarily give you a meal. But turns out there is. So I got a chicken enchilada. Lauren had a burger at the airport, so she's actually not going to get anything. I didn't feel like having a beverage, but alcohol would be included. So I just ordered a ginger ale. That's kind of my go-to on a flight. And Lauren ordered a mimosa, essentially. She ordered champagne and a orange juice. So far, initial thoughts. I mean, I put my backpack up above. It would have fit down below, but I like having a little extra leg room with that gone because it is a larger backpack. And I've got plenty of leg room. Even the person in front of me seat is down, and it's still perfectly fine. A little closer than I'd like, but considering, it's pretty solid. Lauren's just zoned out watching her show. Not sure what it is, but she's watching a show. So we're already about halfway through a almost 3.5 hour long flight. And I will say, while the entire flight crew has been very nice, they seem very disorganized. Typically, by now, you're done with service, and we haven't even been served our meal yet. So there wasn't supposed to be a meal, so this is just kind of a bonus. But again, it kind of comes back to the American carriers seem to have a little bit of a problem when it comes to kind of upholding a certain standard. I'm not sure if it's just a disorganized crew, maybe a newer crew, who knows, but I've been asked if I'd like another drink and never gotten back to me. So again, it's all little just service things that kind of really separates that kind of stuff. They seem way more concerned about talking to each other than actually doing anything. So literally as soon as I said that, they brought out food. So that's... Lauren chose not to get anything. Okay, so I went with the chicken enchilada. I didn't hear the first option, so it comes with a little bit of a salad with a quinoa. There's some rice in there, and then a roll. It looks interesting. All right, so that was actually pleasantly surprising. By no means was it the best meal I've ever had, but it wasn't bad for on an airplane. On the way from Dallas to New York, there was like an omelet because we left in the morning. That was really bad. This is much better. Okay, and a fun twist, they actually just gave us ice cream. I'm not going to lie, on a domestic flight, I don't know that I've gotten a dessert in a very long time, if ever. So that's actually pretty impressive they did that. And a Biscoff cookie, which is kind of like a staple on an American Airlines flight. So I'm going to enjoy this. And we are getting ready to land here in about 30 to 45 minutes. Overall, how'd the flight go for you?
I was asleep.
Not for all of it.
It was good. For somebody like me, probably not worth it.
We haven't gotten to that part yet, but good to know. So, all right, well, we're coming in for landing, and then we'll kind of go through, because the other thing about this is your bags have a priority tag on them as well. So the question becomes is, do you have to wait longer? Do you not have to wait longer for your bags? That kind of thing. So we do have 2 checked bags that we need to go get before we can head back to the truck and get on back to home base. About being home, and we just made it. So I will tell you, post the airplane, and I'm hoping you could hear some of that stuff on the airplane, but you know, when you fly first class, you get typically, at least on American, you get a priority deal on your baggage, and they're supposed to pull that stuff off first, put it on last, take it off first, whatever version of those things. That's a very hit and miss perk. I mean, ours probably came out middle of the row. At least it felt like it. We waited for a while, and when they started coming out, it took a few rounds of it. But yeah, so overall, I mean, it was a decent flight. I was trying to explain this on the plane. I think I have a better analogy as far as like the service and that kind of side of it is. That was the most food I've gotten on a domestic flight. Typically, they don't give you dessert. Like even on line, it just said snack, which is normally like thing of nuts and all, and like or something along those lines. But this was a lot more in depth, where they actually gave us bread a couple of different times and all that. But the flight crew makes so much of what an airline is. And my issue, like there was one guy, and I think I said this on the plane, there was one guy that was a standout, and I don't even think he was the first class attendant. I think he was from the back, which was fine. I mean, that is what it is. But there were 2 flight attendants or 3 flight attendants that we hardly saw, and it took 2/3 of the flight to get through service. There's only 4 rows of 4 in first class. Like, it shouldn't take that long. I've never been on a flight that it took that long to get through service, and then they never kind of came back and picked up after anything very often. So it just took a while, and it typically I like to kind of do that stuff, get it over with, so you can just rest, and it just never stopped, and people kept coming by. You know, some people like that, some people don't. That's probably more of a personal preference, but yeah, and Lauren and I have different experiences. So, all right, so you didn't eat. You had some of the stuff. You didn't eat most of it, though.
No, but that's actually kind of one of my complaints is that when we did the first class ticket on the itinerary, it didn't say that a meal was going to be served. So at the airport, we made it a point to purchase food.
Right.
If I'd known that a meal would have been an option, I wouldn't have spent what we did on a cheeseburger. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there was that. That was a little kind of a little bit of
Annoying.
an ick for me. I would say the other thing is that, like, yeah, they offered bread. Great. Love that. They offered it when I didn't have a plate.
Yeah.
So
I think
that was
one
a
of the
little-
flight attendants realized that the other one was kind of slacking.
Maybe.
And they were trying to get something to the passengers because
Right.
it took her an hour to get 4 trays out.
Right.
Into the flight. Hour into the flight.
And I know this is in the grand scheme of things.
First world problems.
First world problems. I get it. But if we're going to nitpick, is the cost worth it? Like, we didn't get the benefit of having the bags come off first. We didn't get, a lot of things. And
Priority check-in was nice, but no lounge access if you get there. You say you make that shrugging motion,
Yeah.
but I don't think you understand, like, the coach version of that would have taken 20 or 30 minutes based on what I saw.
But to me, we have our TSA pre-check, and so priority in that situation.
That's not what I'm talking about, though.
Okay.
I'm talking about just trying to get the bags checked.
In that situation, an extra 20 minutes wasn't going to be a make or break in that one. There may be other situations. So,
But if you had lounge access through it, which is where I think American falls short, I think I don't think they need to give every first class passenger lounge access.
Right.
But if there's a flight duration that's over a certain length, or select airports, or some version of those two things, then maybe a little more value there.
And part of this, I'm sure, is JFK, the airport, was under a lot of construction.
Yeah.
So there were certain things that we thought we might have access to that we didn't.
But none of those things that we thought we had access to had anything to do with our first class ticket.
they didn't.
So the Chase Sapphire Lounge was because we have that credit card and we have access to that. And the Priority Pass Lounge, alleged lounge, is because of another credit card and we have the Priority Pass. And so
It is. And so, but okay, so overall, right? Priority, check-in, lounge access,
So-
food, all those things.
And on average, and I'm going to say this, I looked up the prices that we paid and kind of some average pricing. On average, on this particular route, JFK to DFW, which is a very highly traveled route, they have five back and forths a day
Okay.
to JFK. It's about anywhere from a $375 to $450 upcharge.
Okay.
So on ours, it was about that $375 to $400 mark because we traveled on less busy days.
Yeah.
But you start, depending on how many people's in your party, like for 2 of us, that's now over $800.
Right.
And I will say, like, there's a lot of factors, and I haven't talked about one intentionally, and it's going to be the difference in is it matter for Lauren and I. Right. So at the end of the day for you, is it worth the, let's call it $400 upgrade?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
And then you flip it around to me, and I am 6'2", and I'm 6'2" pounds. I'm not a small human being. And just in first class, I'm comfortable. In coach, I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so for
That
me,
is true.
it's absolutely worth the upgrade if it was just the seat, only because I fly more than you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've flown a lot in coach, and when I'm done, my back is gone.
That's true.
I mean, I couldn't play in a golf thing because I had taken like 4 flights in a row, like in a span of 10 days, and they were all in economy, which I don't have a problem with economy. I would love to fly back there, just from a cost perspective. But at the end of the day, I don't fit very well. And so I'm not comfortable. My back hurts after the flight.
It ruins the trip for you a little bit.
It does. It makes it a very because my back hurts for days. It's not like it just hurts a little bit during and then I kind of get over it.
Yeah.
My back's gone for days, which means part of the vacation shot and then coming back on the other end,
Well, and
takes
he
longer to
usually
recover.
sits like with his arms kind of crossed
Yeah.
and twisted, so he's not putting a shoulder in anybody else's space. And so then, not only is he kind of in a box, he's also kind of twisted there. And I may be cheap, but if you think that I'm going to let him fly in first class and I'm back in coach, you're loony.
And I am smart. I've never brought that up. Not once. It's all or nothing, baby.
That's right.
And I know I have friends that call me bougie, and it's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, they're not the ones that have to deal with my back. And so, and my being,
Many reasons.
and
call
being,
you
well,
bougie.
okay. But for this one, thanks for pointing that out. But for this one,
Yeah.
it really for me is a quality of life kind of a thing. I know that sounds a little dramatic, but
Yeah.
I'm miserable on the flight because I'm uncomfortable,
Sure.
and then I'm miserable for a few days afterwards because of how I had to sit.
And in the grand scheme of things, right? If you think about the amount you're paying for the flight, even if you're in coach, the amount you're going to pay for the hotel, the
Yeah.
amount you're going to pay for the food while you're at your destination, to have it kind of ruined in the first 2 hours isn't the brightest move. So
Right.
for you, in order to enjoy the trip, yeah.
Sorry, arm got tired. But yes, I mean, we're avid RVers, so our own coffee, our own bed, my own truck. I can sit in a comfortable seat for 12, 13, 14 hours. I do it all the time with the RVs.
It's true, but also it's our timing. And so
Right.
there's more flexibility there. And if you've been around for long enough, you also know that I may not have the best luck with air travel. So
You did better this trip. It was my bag this time. I will say, since you got pre-check, it's been a little better.
it's a lot better.
But yeah, so at the end of the day, I would say worth it for me, but not for the same reasons that it's not worth it for Lauren.
Sure.
All the other stuff in my book is just a bonus
Mm-hmm.
when it works out. So, check bags. I completely forgot to talk about that. So if you're going to check a bag on American, if you're flying in coach, it is at the moment, I believe, $40 or $45 per bag. So now with that, when you fly first class, you get 2 free check bags per person.
Yeah.
And if they're oversized, they don't care. I mean, there's a line, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're like if golf clubs, or if it weighs like if it's 45 pounds is the line, if they're 48, they're not really going to say anything. Even if I've gotten one up to like 50 pounds once and they didn't say anything. But if you roll up with something that's 80 pounds, they're probably going to charge you for it. But
And if you watch the packing video, you know that I'm not likely to take a carry-on.
And it's crazy that we differ in that. Like I take very little, she takes quite a bit more. My stuff's obviously a few sizes larger, so it just takes up more space. So we end up taking a similar amount of stuff. I just can wear a lot less of it. So anyway, is it worth it? I say yes. She says no. I think it boils down to what your dollar amount you want to have and if you're comfortable or not comfortable in coach.
And the duration of the flight, I will say that.
Yes, we have a couple of very long flights. We're testing 2 different classes on. I'm very curious about. We'll probably do a video over it. But I am curious about that because that is a 8.5 hour and 9 hour and 15-minute flight respectively. So anyway, with that, we'll see you next week. We have all the fun things coming up. I'm not even sure because this is the end of the New York series. So I don't know what's next because I haven't looked at the calendar in a while. So bye.